Aloha. Today I wanted to go into the top 10 reasons why I think my perspective on why the New Age is bogus. And I'll preface this with um, I don't necessarily think the New Age is inherently um, destructive. Well, it is what it is in a sense that individuals take it or leave it. But there is a manipulative structure within this so-called New Age design, and this is what I'm talking about, because there are, like, for me, I went through the New Age kind of gauntlet to understand a lot of myself and a lot of the ways that the system is being manipulated on an internal and external scale, on an individual and collective scale. And ultimately it was good for me, but I see how if you get caught up into a spiral of new aginess, then you will be stuck in a world that is compromised inherently. And it's not necessarily, that's why I said it's not bad, and then really ultimately it's not a good thing when it's being manipulated the way it is, because there are many, many reasons beyond this little top 10 little stuff. This is just my little perspective that I put out here, but I'll touch on each one of these just to explain as I go. But it's definitely an issue that I needed to bring up because it taps into the flat Earth and NASA and all of the pigeons out there. All of the stuff that is being revealed right now, so-called disclosure. So the reason why I got amped up to do this video right now is because this so-called disclosure that's being sent out there right now, and the people who work within that system of information are directly tied into the extraterrestrial representatives like David Wilcock and a lot of the channelers that are out there, and that whole information thread. And it's relevant to speak on this and at least get it out there to tie in and try to kind of figure it out, because there is a certain amount of disempowerment that's involved in this when individuals give their power away to extraterrestrials or aliens or some kind of entity that is outside of themselves, and that's inherent within this New Age movement, so-called movement. This team disclosure, it has heavy links into like the fear program itself, when there's like people saying they have secret information from the CIA and secret information from extraterrestrials and all this secret stuff that they can't reveal. All this stuff, anything secret that's being held back, there's a reason for that. There's something off with this whole system itself and the people engaging in this system, when ultimately there's nothing new under the sun. So this whole movement itself right now had me looking like twice, like, all right, I need to look into this, because when I was living in Sedona for a year and a half, which is known as like a New Age community, and I started to see how the land is being overrun by tourism and being destroyed. Actually, is being. I mean, there's ATVs everywhere. It used to be indigenous land, and then they just moved all the Native Americans off of there into pretty much a concentration camp, and They don't even talk about that. They moved in all their Republicans now to own the land and make money off of it. So it's all about money there. And even behind that, there's a hustle. There's like these so-called new age hustlers that, and not saying everybody is like that, because there are some people that are aware of it and some people are not aware of it, but there's people who are definitely aware of their hustle, and you'll end up in somebody's home or some kind of rented room after going to the ATM to get $200 out to get some kind of reading from somebody who pretty much is just like a salesman or a saleswoman, who is locking you into some kind of pitch. And it's all sold with love and oneness and all these things that are like secret in a sense, or you can't see your chakras and all this stuff. And that's the thing, this information and these flows that are getting sold to your face, they're all being referenced through energy that is real, that's tangible in a sense, but unless you have tapped into the depths of your intuition and there's like layers of awareness that people go through. And I'm speaking from my own experience, because I was susceptible to these hustlers that are out there. And then I started to realize I got like another version to where I was just like, wait a second, I know how to point these people out. And then also with the feeling, like you feel a certain way, you feel like off, something feels off. And then I started to feel that way with the whole community itself. Something felt a little off with the way it's being used. The people are being used. The land is being used, and all these things that people talk about, love and oneness. All this stuff is great and beautiful, but I started to see a trend where there's things that they don't speak on, and this goes back to the new age itself. And nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. And then I started to see it's heavily one-sided. Like even the extraterrestrials, all the pictures, so-called pictures that they have, these are all white. Even the aliens are white, just like in Hollywood conditioning, the conditioning that goes along with your superheroes that are flashed in front of you. All your protagonists in every movie and TV show, everybody is heavily whitewashed. So even the so-called new age disclosure team, the community of the star systems, all this, even they are white. And I'm not saying like it's so much about race and colors and all this other stuff, but it definitely is a part of it. And if we don't look at it and don't pay attention to how it is, then we won't be able to understand the depths of a lot of things that are being sold behind the veil and the undertones of this existing. Because if there is nothing new under the sun, then where is the original power of the human space that doesn't exist within this monkey evolution, this NASA history, this university system reality that's being pumped up through the globe mentality and through the foundations of the Columbian era? Because this is what all this stuff is based on. This the globe theory, the new age, all this stuff that's being focused upon right now, the environmentalism that's all in there. These are all good things, but not if you don't go into the depths of it, then we won't be able to see that these good things are good in a sense, because the stuff that has come within the Columbian era is so bad. Like, in a sense, there's been so many things that have been manipulated to be bad, so whatever is good, so-called good, can be sold into the community, sold into your consciousness, so you will buy into a so-called new system, a new age, a new order. And this so-called team disclosure, who's waiting on These aliens or extraterrestrials to reveal this information, or waiting on these government agencies to reveal this information. They're teamed up with the New Age community, these people that so-called broke away from the government, and they're heavily tied into the corporations that are out there too. Not to mention, they're not talking about a lot of things. That's mainly why I'm going through this right now, is because there's a lot of, before anybody can move forward, before we as a whole can move forward, we have to see what has been done here, and we have to heal the wounds that have been done. We can't just put band-aids on cancer. That's what's that's what the New Age is. It's just a get over it, a move on mentality. Just don't even look at the past. Only look at the future, the scientific and technological future of what's being put together. Bless you. Bless you. What's being put together now. And don't look into. So if we don't look into our past, then we won't have any roots to tap into, and that's exactly where, that's that limbo state where the New Age is gladly to step in and kind of manipulate the so-called newness that's coming along. So all this and this is another thing. It's actually apathetic. The apathy is built into the New Age system when they don't look at the pain that has been caused by these by NASA, by the Columbian era, by colonialism, by the way indigenous people have been treated, by the way the land has been treated, by the university system itself, and the globe theories, and the inherent division and the inherent control measures that are built in into the control, the design itself. It's really it's not being paid attention to. It's not being at all addressed. And these alternative news websites that are out here, these like collectively conscious and these so-called conscious communities, they're all looking in the future, in like, oh, this futuristic stuff, this will clean up the ocean, this will clean up the air, this will do all this other stuff, and never looking into because this could also, there's so many angles you can come at this from, but this alternative news stream of consciousness is no different than the mainstream media. The mainstream is designed to keep people distracted and keep people looking the other way and looking at all the bad stuff that's going on, while the alternative news is just the opposite of that, which is in a sense, because it's still a distraction, but they keep you focused on the positive stuff and also the takedown of the negative stuff that's going on, which is just another distraction if you're not going into the depths of where these foundations are and where our true power comes from, and outside of the university system designs that are inherent within the system. Ultimately, it's a prescription drug. This is a spirituality that is that's designed to just have the answers for everything. It's just fill everything with love and oneness, and then meditate on that space, and then everything will be okay. It's kind of like built into the system of the New Age, and it feels really good to a lot of people because not a lot of people have been able to tap into that space, period, because everything's been so jacked up for so long that it's good to feel love, that it's good to feel this oneness and the connection. But that's not the only side. You have to see all the sides that are going on and do something with it, because if it's just being looked at and then being put away, then that's no different than these old history books that are being sold in the university system and the public education system that make people feel better for not talking about slavery, which is why they're trying to take slavery out of the history books. This is the same. It's the same mentality in the New Age. It's like if we don't talk about it, if we don't look at it, if we only focus on the positive future and all this stuff, then everything will be okay. And that's not the way it is. It's just the way it's being manipulated to be. So if we don't look at this so-called disclosure team with a fine-tooth comb, then we'll miss a lot of things. If we don't tap into our true power and realize the systems that are being manipulated to push a disempowered state of being by giving your power away to extraterrestrials or Hollywood demigods, if we only get this prescription drug of alternative news and be happy about like all this futuristic technological stuff that's changing and all this, then we'll only get half at the best, half at best, half of positive movement. If we continue to have this move on and get over it mentality, then a lot of people will be stuck. Separation will be continually perpetrated through the system itself, and will fall underneath another control grid. This Hollywood conditioning that gets put out there is part of it, with all these movies that are selling constantly Star Wars, Star Trek, technology, alien agendas through fear and through the savior, the space Jesus sort of savior mentality. The apathy that's inherent within the New Age community is not spiritual at all. It's disassociative. It's destructive, both self-destructive and collectively destructive. When you don't look at things, because eventually this stuff will come around, and you will have to ask questions about why things are the way they are and why things continue to be the way they are, because people are not looking into it. They're looking the other way and using prescription drug mentalities to get by. The extraterrestrial game is part of the alien agenda that's being manipulated behind the scenes as the next sort of, whether it's a false flag or not, it's going to be used because it's being used within Hollywood itself. They're building up a system, a stream of thought that gets people vested into knowing and wanting to know and wanting these answers, and they have all the answers. This is why this so-called team disclosure is out there, so they can provide you with the answers based upon the agenda that has been manipulated through Hollywood and through the so-called behind the veil people who are out there sharing information. Nothing is new under the sun, period. So this is already compromised. So we have to look into what has always been here, what is still within us, in order to tap into the depths of our true power. Let go of these prescription drug mentalities and ideas of spirituality, and start to access the true infinite depths of it ourselves, and stop looking only at love and oneness, and start to see all the versions of our reality, and see how they all work together. There's a beauty in our differences. There's a beauty in our cultures, in our history, in our ancestors, in the land. There's a beauty that if we only focus on what is new, if we only focus on what is scientific and technological, then we'll be leaving out a lot of ourselves, and yeah, can't do that. So I'll leave it there, and till next time, thank you for joining me. Peace, love, and harmony.